Hi, my name's Sam Price, the Crypto Lifer, and are you stuck in the small time frames? Do you want to zoom out and look at the macro? Let's take a look at the macro together. We're going to look at Bitcoin, the S&P futures, gold, all that, and take a look at the world markets. We're going to have a good, idea of where we're going and some high probability plays that could show us what could happen here in the next few weeks. Let's take a look at what's happening in the markets. My name's Sam Price, the Crypto Lifer. I've been doing TA for a long time, over 10 years. Let's look at the probabilities here and find out what's happening. First thing we're going to do is look at BTC. And the one thing you want to look at is Bitcoin. As we said last time we were here, the monthly closed bearish. And we were looking for this next monthly candle to close a little more bullish, right? To at least get back above there. At one point, this candle was high in green. And, there was a chance we were going to close it as the biggest monthly candle in history. Now, we had gone higher on the wicks, but the candle was higher than these two candles, right? We have since got a sell-off since then. Bitcoin has taken a bit of a tumble. And, there's one thing I keep showing, and it's a bit of hopium, but it is the Dow Jones. And if you look at the Dow Jones, it had a bearish engulfing candle on the monthly in a rising wedge, followed by basically a more bearish green candle. It did tweezer bottom, but had a massive sell-off wick. When we look at Bitcoin, we have a very similar situation. We have a bearish, the one thing is that's not bearish engulfing, but it's pretty dang close. We have two tweezer top wicks, which is bearish, and then this is closing with a massive wick, right? Could we somehow still money print our way out of this? Does Bitcoin still push to the upside as the dollar becomes more and more prevalent and it lowers the value and people realize that Bitcoin is going to get more scarce? Is there still a chance for a breakout, or are we entering the beginning of a possible bear market? And I think that's, you have people on both sides and they have basically a pretty good argument for both. One argument is, hey, Trump is changing all the prerequisites for the banks, right? Everyone can start pouring money into crypto now. Trillions of dollars can flow into cryptocurrency. The regulations have been changed, SEC, all that, ETFs. There's just going to be more liquidity flowing. How could we go down in Bitcoin? How? And, Michael Saylor, all these companies are putting it on the balance sheet, Ethereum, like how could we go down? And, that's actually listening to the narrative and not listening to the charts. So I like to listen to the charts only. When I get caught up in the narrative, I miss what the charts are saying, and you can get really wrecked. So usually, 90% of the time, the charts are right. So just listen to the charts, and if they align with the narrative, so be it. That monthly doesn't look amazing. Again, I showed you we could close as such, and then, it will show how October closes. October's close is going to tell us a story. If it closes red down here, that's probably the end of the rally, and we could actually be making a bigger head and shoulder pattern, right? That eventually sends us lower too. If you draw a Fibonacci, this all kind of coincides with this area there, right around like 76,000, even lower to 65. So, and if you draw the bigger fib from the whole impulse, the whole thing kind of drags you right down into this $42,000, $39,000 level. So I'm not saying it's the end of the market and we're going down to 39K, but I am saying that if it were to happen, it would look something like this, which is not the best, right? So now we're going to go and look here at the weekly time frame. And the weekly is showing a head and shoulder pattern. And I cautioned this last week, right? I said we ended up closing super bearish last week. And then I said, if this candle closes bearish, I don't see how we don't end up with a bigger red candle. And that's exactly what happened. Again, I'm not a soothsayer. I'm not a psychic. I'm just doing, basic technical analysis. If this candle closes red with a big wick down, it's usually followed by a big red candle. Like it's just, you know what I mean? Like and honestly, when I really get prudent about this trend line, I say it's the rising wedge. You were supposed to stay inside to break out. You fell from it. You barely retest, and now you're likely to continue. And usually when you fall out of a rising wedge, you drop to where it began. That would take you back to 76,000, at least to a double bottom at 94K, something like that. You're testing this key level at 108. There's a chance this is like the last line of defense and you don't go through it. You can kind of see, but it's crucial time for sure. Look, this looks like a head and shoulder pattern that wants to break to the downside. So right now, Bitcoin looks far more bearish than bullish to me. It looks far more likely that this is going to close red. And then when I'm with you next week, we're talking about another red candle and we're like somewhere in here on our way further down. And if next week we're in a green candle, tweezer bottoming back up to here, even then it doesn't look amazing, right? Because it would have to get above resistance on 115.8. There's a lot of support that is now resistance 111, 112.5. We're now going to have to break through all these key areas. So it does change the entire landscape. It also pushes Bitcoin's pump further back. Like the further up we were, right, we would have went sideways for 4 weeks and then pumped out at 128. Now we have to go, maybe it take that same amount of time just to get back to where we were. So it slows down the pump. It kind of, and again, are they waiting for rate money to come from those rate cuts so that they can get their money together and just positioning Bitcoin? But to me, that's again narratives and hearsay. If we look at the charts, 68% chance we break to the downside. So if you end up coming down here, you can't be surprised. You have to say, Sam showed this on the macro. We went over it many times. So trade with caution. And I don't usually do this, but I will show you the 1 hour. The 1 hour is in a bear flag. Some say, no, it's a reverse Bart Simpson, and it's just going to bounce right back to the upside. We are on support. It's triple bottomed. I get it, but after a dump, when you stay inside of a consolidated pattern like this, that to me is what's called a bearish rectangle, which also suggests we're going down somewhere to $104,000. So the only thing I would get convinced is if somehow the 15-minute regains the 200 moving average, the 21 gets above it and we move. Also, the 4 hour has a bear cross, a death cross, basically, and every time I've seen that, we've seen lower lows. So that's very sketchy, and it's definitely something you need to heed. So yeah, the only thing that the hopium you're looking for is tonight. The daily closes with the green tweezer bottom here and somehow gets us, like this one, and we get a run back to the upside. That's a higher low, and we shrug it off. But this low is a lot different than these. I called this reversal. This one, I have to be honest, this reversal feels a lot different. The bigger time frames are more bearish. We're headed back down to the 200 moving average on the daily. There's a lot riding on this. We have to bounce here, or otherwise, it's the beginning of a possible bigger macro dump. So I would be watching your 1 hour bear flag 100%. I would be watching that 15-minute 200. And I'd be paying attention to how the daily closes tonight. And basically, you're hoping for the weekly to also, somehow close a green candle, or, and you're looking for October to close a monthly green. I mean, it's like a have to. Otherwise, we're in some serious trouble for the bulls here, and there's way more downside. So right now, the probability is bearish. However, Bitcoin just continues to hover at the exact same place, like low 109s, 109,390. And so anything could happen. It's tough to tell, but the probability is definitely to the downside. I'm a firm believer in Bitcoin. I'm a Bitcoin bull at heart. I would much rather a reversal and to be wrong here. I'm just showing you the probabilities. There's multiple head and shoulders. There's bear flags. It just doesn't look amazing, right? There's bearish retests. At the same time, we do have some chop here. There's some support. We could get a bounce. Let's see how strong that is and if it's sustainable. And that's what we're going to be watching for the next few days. The total market cap for Bitcoin and all the cryptocurrencies, same idea here. You're riding this wave on the weekly. You got to get this bounce in next green candle. Otherwise, this is an M pattern, double top, and you break right back down to the point of control, $3.25 trillion. We want this rally to sustain. We want to stay above the 200, the 21 on the weekly. If you close a weekly candle below that 21-day moving average, that's 6 to 7 weeks of pullback time. Otherwise, it's a bounce, just like it was here. So we desperately, just like here, as we came in contact with the 21, but got a tweezer bottom and a secondary green candle next to the red, we need a green candle next to this red next week. It's very, very important. We don't get a green candle next week, it's very likely we could get a continuation that dumps us and starts to break this entire structure to the downside. So far, this rising wedge is still intact on total. It may be a little more in jeopardy on Bitcoin, but it's intact on total, which is, at least a good sign. We take a look at total 3, the altcoins, the market cap of all the altcoins, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. And if you look at it, it's in more of what looks like to me like an ascending triangle now than a rising wedge, right? And it's, we just need that bounce. Same idea. You need a green candle next week, sideways price action, and this could just be a shakeout. And we get the bounce. So these don't look as bad as Bitcoin for whatever reason. Bitcoin looks far sketchier. So it tells you that the altcoins are in a little better position. People are less likely to dump them now. They, with the dollar looking scant, not looking strong, with a lot of free money coming into the market with rate cuts, why would people want to run out of altcoins? It's very strange. So even though there's fear there, I think the fear was balanced by the fear on the other side of being in the other assets that don't look amazing. So when you have fear balanced on either side, people are kind of, hey, you just still think it's less risky to be in altcoins, and that's positioning altcoins to be in a pretty good spot. So total is holding that and showing you a higher low. So as bearish as it does look on Bitcoin, the broader market doesn't look as bad on total. Let's take a look at Bitcoin dominance, right? You want to see that kind of hovering sideways That's pumping back up. In the last 2 weeks, it's had a nice movement back up. However, could be a shoulder, head, right shoulder. Could be short-lived here, you see? And the reason why, what I just said, I mean, if you have too much fear against holding the dollar and there's too much money pouring into the market, it would balance out why you would have demand for getting into Bitcoin dominance. You know what I mean? And people would get back into their tether. It does look like maybe 2-3 more weeks of a bit of a pump here. If Bitcoin can regain this level, if Bitcoin regains, we're going to get a little bit of a pump, a resurgence. But then it looks like, you know, once you get up to that level right there, you're going to hit that right shoulder and roll over. And then alt season begins again for another big leg to the downside. So it doesn't, you know, a little bit of a pump, but I'm not, you know, it doesn't look like it's going to be the reversal that a lot of people are saying. Let's take a look at tether dominance and see what's happening to tether dominance. And again, same idea here. Like we showed you the symmetrical triangle. It could go either way. It did get the pump out. But the bigger picture, look, it's still inside of this descending triangle. A little bit of a move, but it says like, okay, fine. A couple people bumping into tether here and there. But for the most part, we roll over and that free money, it just takes over. And there's too much free money. And then they print money on top of it. And, you know, tether dominance rolls over. So that also gives us hope there that this is just a somewhat a lull in the market, and we can get a bit of a bounce. I take a look at gold, and gold has been on an absolute tear. We talked about it on this channel many times. We showed you this flag that was likely going to break out when it first started. I said it's going to flag out. It's going up to $4,300 an ounce and not stopping. If you want to track it here, you can look at this little flag. But gold is looking absolutely beautiful. Support of resistance on the 21, you know. I look for that flag to continue. It actually looks really good in the 6 hour, like it's just getting a breakout. Last time I did that, it had multiple 6 hours to the upside. I'd look for gold to just continue up for a little while here. Either it does one of two things. It either continues to pump or consolidates. I firmly feel like it's not going to go below that wick, though, at $3,700, and just it's going to continue to trek. Look for gold to either flag out or continue its move. And my next target for gold is is 39.50, and we've been spot on with gold. We've been nailing it. It's been pretty simple. It's followed the TA spot on. All you had to do was do TA and then call it out. It did what it did. Like so, I could take full credit, or the technical analysis can. Like I call it the TA pretty well. That's it. Gold made a move. Let's take a look at the S&P futures. We said they were going to continue to pump. They looked interesting to me. I said just watch for them to flag out. So look, we've had this chart out there. We gave you the entry there at 64.65. Stop loss there can now be. You can start breaking that to break even almost. And I said, I don't see a big dump. I see it making a flag, right, which we played out. And I see, you know, when we come back next week, which is going to be on, I believe, it should be like the 3rd of October, like right here. I see us just halfway through this flag getting ready for a big pump. So we're sideways while I'm in Singapore. When I get back, this thing rips. I'm going to Singapore to token 24.99 next week. We take a look at NASDAQ and see what's happening to the E-mini futures. NASDAQ looking very, very interesting inside of a flag too as well here. You can see on the 6 hour time frame getting tight. I see the same thing, and it looks like it's going to take time. That's a flag that could take till like October 14th or something before it breaks out, but I see it going sideways before a bigger pump to the upside. So that's kind of your macro analysis on the market. We look at Bitcoin. We look at the total market cap and all of crypto. We look at total 3, which is the market cap of the altcoins. We look at tether dominance. We look at Bitcoin dominance. We look at gold, the NASDAQ, the S&P, and last but not least, the DXY, the dollar index, which to me, it's akin to a descending triangle here that's got this nasty trend line, and it's about to roll over. I see the DXY after that little mini pump, inverted head and shoulder there, nice little move, to roll over and continue its melee to the downside over time. It really starts to accelerate in late November, where we really start to see the dump. And basically, for the entire month of November, the dollar absolutely collapses, sending us on a fury run in altcoins and Bitcoin. So everything is setting up okay, even though there's a lot of bearishness on the Bitcoin chart. It does seem to be somewhat balanced by the bigger market and the macro events that, you know, and you can see it here too. So don't get too overly bearish. There is opportunity here. Just, you know, be cautious as well. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. You can find out when I post my next video. Remember, if you came to the channel, then you're already doing the right thing. If you like this content, I go live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Jump on in, watch the show, learn technical analysis so you're not lost and getting yourself wrecked every single day. You can actually use the education to learn. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video.